Welcome back, horror fans, cinephiles, and Giallo enthusiasts. This is Tanner Leeser, your host for all things Giallo here on The King in Giallo. Let's do an unscripted talking head movie review for What Have You Done to Solange? I'll just get right into it. This is the second Giallo film by Massimo Dallamano, the first being a Black Veil for Lisa, I believe. Yeah, first being a Black Veil for Lisa, which I also own. I should do a talking head review for that. I do have it as a review on my Patreon on my Rat Hole Burn movie reviews, but I kind of stopped doing those. I enjoyed the concept. I was basically sitting out smoking a cigar while I was talking about a movie like right after I just watched it. It was just it's a little difficult to film outside. I had to move my gear outside, and it was usually always like turning dark. It was becoming nightfall, and who really wants to sit and watch a guy smoke a cigar as he's talking about a movie? I don't know. I thought it was a fun concept. But anyways, yes. This movie, though, way more overtly Giallo. I mean, interestingly, it's not that a Black Veil for Lisa. Do I have it around here somewhere? I probably do, but it's behind the green screen. It is good. It's 1968, I want to say, so it's still in that proto-Giallo. It's a little bit more, it kind of feels a bit crimmy, but not leaning too much into the style of that genre. But it's more of a just procedural murder mystery, whodunit, following the detective. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm talking about What Have You Done to Solange? What Have You Done to Solange is the first in a trilogy that Massimo Dallamano would attempt to do. Unfortunately, he wasn't quite successful in finishing it. The third one, Red Rings of Fear, he wasn't able to finish because he unfortunately died in a car accident, but it was finished, it was put out, and I did recently get that from Vinegar Syndrome. It's called the Schoolgirls in Peril trilogy. This movie takes place at a school, all-girls school. It opens with a girl who is having a little rendezvous with a man, an older man, and they're in like a rowboat on a river, and she keeps catching glimpses of like someone out on the banks, and he's taking it as like, stop, you obviously are a little nervous, but like, come on, like, we're here, let's do this. And then she'll kind of, fall back into it, let him put the moves on her. And then all of a sudden she catches a glimpse of someone stabbing. You don't really, it's shot very, very well, but you don't fully see who it is, but you see someone off camera with a knife basically stab right there. And she bursts up. She's like, oh my God, I saw it. The person had a knife, and the guy who is our lead in this, it was Enrico, is like, God, you girls, you're so immature, you just, you're afraid to do it. So let's just get right into this. This guy is one of her teachers at an all-girls Catholic school, and this is a high school, so yeah. It's a little odd that the movie is like, what would be really fun? Let's have our main character be this lovable tramp who's having sexual rendezvous with his students. That's someone we can all get behind, right? It's just funny because it's like, regardless of whether she's 18 or not, which I don't think they explicitly say whether that's the case or not. I remember there's a part where someone says something about underage, but that's illegal. And like, to hammer this point in some European countries, the age of consent is lower than it is generally in like the States, which varies from state to state, but the general idea is 18. If I'm not mistaken, I think France it's like 15 or 16, but it is illegal for someone in a position of authority to fraternize with someone who is beneath them. So a teacher, a boss. Now, I might be completely wrong on this, but this is something I was told a while ago, and I just remember that. She witnesses this. They pull up to the banks, and he's just like humoring her, like, oh, yeah, a knife. What kind of knife was it? And he drops her off. And it's just so funny because like the first scenes we have with this guy is like, he's an asshole. He's a predator. Yeah. But we go into it, and it turns out there was a murder, in fact, even though they didn't find anything there. So he returns to the crime scene, and sure enough, there's police there. And he shows up, I believe, because he has like a pen, and he accidentally lost it. And this is important for Enrico because, God forbid, anybody knows that he's having a sexual affair with one of his students. That would just be bad for him, right? I mean, even in Europe in the 1970s, they're like, yeah, that's no. So can't find it. but this opens up a whole can of worms of an investigation. The police do go to the school, and they end up talking to a number of the teachers of this girl, and this is great. This is like Torso, but a year early. Everybody they talk to, whether they're overtly suspicious or not, you can't help but assume, like equally assume it could be any one of them. So the first one I think was like and all these people have like two things they teach, so it was kind of hard to keep track, but like one of them was, I think he was a math teacher and a history teacher, and he's like your overt red herring. He's the one who's just like like he's got like trying to think how to describe him. He's got this just long straggly hair, and he's got these big eyes. He looks like a sex offender is the best way I can describe it, and that's a mean thing to say about someone's appearance, but I think they cast him because they thought he looks like a greasy, guy who doesn't have the best of luck with women and therefore would be a sex offender. They're showing the photograph of the girl, of the body, and the state it is in, how they found it, because there was a knife, So they show it to him, then they show it to a priest, because it's a Catholic school. And for me, anytime you have a priest in a giallo who's not just like a random background character during a funeral scene, anytime it's like, oh, this is kind of a character, immediately be suspicious of them. And so first time I watched this, I definitely was like, it's the priest. And the shot even kind of lingers on him, where he kind of like, and he gives the photograph back, and they're like, no, really look at it. And it does like this slow zoom on him. And they're like, remember him. And then it goes to another teacher, and he's equally kind of suspicious looking, but not as obvious looking like a sex offender, but he's very just kind of like. So yeah, you meet all these guys, and you're kind of like, okay, it really could be any one of them. It probably is. And then they talk to Enrico, and we know it's not him because he was there doing something else, so he can't be the one who was doing that. But unfortunately for him, he's kind of got his hands tied behind his back in terms of supplying an authentic, truthful alibi, because he would have to reveal that he was with one of his students. So he's lying, and he's saying that, oh, I was driving around. Yeah. And they talk to his wife, who's also a teacher. And Enrico, I believe, I think he's a gym teacher and an Italian language teacher. This is also in England. I don't remember if they say specifically that it's London, but it is England. And for that reason, I would always recommend just watch the movie in an English dub. Don't bother watching it in Italian with subtitles. If it's set in England, watch it in English. And also, the English dub for this movie is considered really, really good. They had all of the actors doing their lines in English, and then when they dubbed them, the dub apparently was so good that English-speaking audiences, American audiences, could not tell that it was redubbed. So there you go. Kudos to the movie there. So we're kind of following the police a little bit as they go around, kind of following, I think the girl's name is Elizabeth, and then we're kind of following Enrico. So the story will kind of pivot around who it's mostly focusing on. And really quickly, in another girl who was a friend, you get the idea that there's some girls that are in like this clique, and not really like I guess a clique is probably not the best word, because that kind of suggests this air of popularity or being in the public's eye. Everybody at school knows them. It's like a secret group that some of these girls are in. And another one of the girls dies. She gets like picked up, and it's essentially the same thing with the knife. So odd calling card, or MO, I guess I should say. A very odd, very specific MO that this killer has. As it goes on, we're introduced to the fact that these girls may know something. They may be involved in something, and they're not safe when they go to confession. And so whether that means it is a priest or not, we don't really know, but we do know that these girls have kind of confessed what their involvement is in this other thing, and they've been getting targeted. Well, Elizabeth, she suddenly remembers that the killer she saw, or the person she saw with the knife, was wearing black cassocks, which is what priests wear. They were using a different word for it. I forget what word they were using. Doesn't really matter. That's what it is. And she goes to tell a guy at the school, like, I figured something out. And then she kind of confesses this to the police. But again, Enrico is kind of stuck with whether he can say what's going on or not. I will leave that there. I will go further and talk about some spoilers. I don't want to ramble too much like I usually do. but I will just say that you can leave it at that, and it's going into it knowing that that's what it is. I think you will enjoy it. I really do like this movie. I really like this Giallo. It's certainly original. It's certainly original. It's like, oh, it's the one that has that and has that and has that. Again, what is all that? Well, I'll mention that, but if you've seen it, you know. Anyways, what say we spoil this movie for you? Okay, so spoilers alert going forward. Well, this girl, she spilled the beans about this information about the killer. Suddenly she gets targeted. The killer breaks in. She's in a bath. It's a POV of the killer. They go in, they start strangling her, and they drown her. It's one of those things that is just so Giallo in how it's both horrifying, in how just visceral it's shot, and it teeters that line of just perfectly encapsulating the violence of what's happening, as well as the thing that Blood and Black Lace did so well. Gosh, it's like, how do you say this without sounding weird? I think as Giallo fans, you can get it though, because it's just part of the genre, is how they sexualize the violence, but it's not in a way where you're like, ooh yeah, that's hot, but it's like the girl's naked. I mean, again, this is part of the genre. This is something that Blood and Black Lace did so well that all the other movies, or most of them at least, picked up on. We're like, yeah, let's do that. Slashers will kind of do it, but not to the degree that Giallo films can do it. And the fact that the killings usually have this really violent sense of penetration, it's like it's hammered in even harder. And I really think that this is probably, if not the best, it's definitely in the conversation, maybe top 3, top 5 Giallo films that do this type of sexual violence thing. It's just done so well, and it's shot so well, and it never really feels like it's going for the exploitation element. It always feels like it's done tastefully. And if you've seen enough disturbing movies that can show you the most graphic, horrific things, but always kind of either frame it or just present it in a certain way, with whether it's the sound design doing its part as well. Again, how it is framed. I've talked about this before. I really do like Salo, the 120 Days of Sodom. It's as brutal as that movie is, it's just gorgeous. It's just such a good looking movie. But regardless, so what have you done to Solange? Elizabeth dies. Enrico, desperate now to try and get an alibi, he confesses to his wife. Yes, that's right. He has a wife that he's been having an affair with. He tells her about Elizabeth, and he's like, I was with her. I could really use some help. But yeah, let's just get to, I'm spoiling this. Let's just get to it. So what happens in this movie? The killer, whoever they are, is getting information of this group of girls. And then he ends up talking to some photographer guy as he's photographing a naked woman, and he's telling Enrico about how, oh yeah, all the chicks were part of this, like, essentially it was like a hedonist guild. They were just free-spirited girls who wanted to, have sex with guys. It's a little weird because, again, it's not like this is a college movie. Anyways, there was a girl who ran with that group who was called Solange. And something happened to her, but we don't really know what right now. All we know is that there was a girl who ran with them. Something happened to her, and the girls kind of stopped doing their thing. They kind of, I guess they disbanded the group. And at one point, Enrico goes to talk to an older woman who was somehow affiliated with this group. Except when he goes to find her, it's like the dog's dead and the woman is dead, and there's like a sickle up her. Well, and Enrico is with his wife at one point, and they're just kind of like sitting out in the park talking about this, and she's like, well, until Solange shows up, I guess there's, we can't really know anything. And then literally 3 seconds later, this weird girl kind of stands over them. It's like, could this be Solange? And there's something up with her. She seems there's something up with her, but yeah, you see her and she's just like, and then she runs off. Her caretaker's like, come back here, you silly girl. What are you doing? We go to this guy's place. I think he's a tenured teacher at the high school. We find out that his daughter is Solange. And in this other flashback where everything's in black and white, really well shot. Oh, I should mention this. She's played by Camille Keaton, who would go on to star in I Spit on Your Grave. And so in this flashback scene that's all in black and white, the girls bring Solange to that older woman, who we find out, as well as being kind of a bit of a free spirit with these girls, going and joining them in whatever activities they're doing, she also performs back alley abortions. And I guess they had an orgy and Solange got pregnant, and the girls can't afford for Solange to go through with this and then, have to reveal what she was doing. And then they all get caught. They all get in trouble. Kind of like the Crucible. That's such a weird comparison. So they hold her down. And I mean, I will say this. She is complicit in this abortion, but it's very violent. I mean, it's an abortion in a back alley with like a freaking coat hanger, but it's not like they tricked her. It's not like they coerced her. She went in there knowingly, but they still have to hold her arms down, hold her legs, and God, the way this is shot, where it's looking down on the table and the light of the overhead light is covering what needs to be covered and showing just enough to just give you the sense of how horrific this is. And that happened. And apparently that severely traumatized Solange to the point that she's physically, emotionally, mentally impaired now. Again, I'm sorry if I'm not using the most PC terms. I'm just trying to talk right now. But yes, so she can't really talk anymore. She just kind of babbles, if anything, basically doesn't speak. The way that some things have referred to it is that it's like she's reverted back to acting like a child or a baby. Well, and then we see some other scenes, and I think this is also a flashback of the killer kidnapping one of the girls and forcing her to confess what happened, and they reveal that all the other girls confessed too, and that's how he knew that they're the ones who did this to Solange. But when the police and Enrico show up to talk to this guy, at one point Solange takes Herta, takes her and walks her through the dwelling, through the house, and shows her the kidnapped girl. Well, now the police know that it's this guy who was very inconspicuous the whole movie. So I was really, really shocked. I was totally expecting the priest, but I think the movie did a great job of, this is one of the greatest reveals in terms of, it's not like this guy was hidden. It's not like who the hell is this guy? Granted, he does look like the detective. Joachim Fuchsberger is the inspector. So this guy, it's not like he was never in the movie until when he's revealed, but they did a really good job of just making you think obviously the really creepy guy was the main red herring, was the one where the movie kind of wants you to, if you are going to put your eggs in one basket, it's going to be him. But the priest, obviously it's implied it could be him because whoever the killer is, they're getting their information through the confessions. So could it be the priest, or is it someone eavesdropping on the confessions? That's what they do set up. But regardless, the way the priest is handled in the movie is very similar to how priest characters are handled in other Giallo movies in which the priest is revealed to be the killer. They're there. They are given a motive, but they just aren't really focused on. But anytime there's a priest who's a killer in a Giallo and they reveal it, it's never like, what? It's always like, oh yeah, they're obsessed with purity, or they're obsessed with either saving these people's souls in the case of some movies, or being the vengeful hand of God, or there's something tied to sin and purity, and that's always just kind of part of it. Not always. There's a couple that do something a little slightly different, but so you could easily see that they're not focusing on it, but you're like, okay, well, it's probably the priest. He probably has found out in the confessions, and he's killing these girls because they're besmirching so many things, the institution, the religious institution, the actual school institution. Oh, it's probably him. No, it really isn't. And that was such a good reveal, because again, I really thought it was the priest, and the movie just wasn't trying to be too overtly hitting you over the head with it's got to be him. But no, it is this guy, Mr. Bascom, who is Solange's father, and he's basically enacting revenge on the women who he blames for putting his daughter in this state. And this is a great conversation to have. Obviously I can't have it with you because I'm talking, but maybe have it in the comments Although it honestly doesn't sound like the most fun conversation. But is he justified? Is he? The movie does a great job of not doing the thing that slashers get blamed for, which is, oh, you're just trying to punish scandalous women. Like it does a good job of not portraying itself that way. And I don't think the movie really has an opinion one way or the other on abortions. I think it's just used in the context of this film for this tragic character, which I guess I'm going to call a MacGuffin. In order for this thing to happen, that was the catalyst. And if you want to say that the movie is anti-abortion, possibly. I mean, it does make the scene look horrific, but again, that could just be all a case for safer ones. I don't know. I'm not going to get into the politics, but is the movie, does it have a point of view? Does it have an opinion? Honestly, I don't think it's trying to. It could. I could be totally wrong there, but for what it's worth. But going back to what I was saying, is Mr. Bascombe justified in what he's doing? I would say obviously not. Obviously not. But I will say that in terms of some of the best giallo films that have a killer whose motive is somewhat justified, I'd say he's up there. Again, I'm not saying what he did was right, but you can definitely see where he is coming from. And it doesn't feel like, oh, this guy is a psychopath, this guy is a madman. It's like, no, this guy, like, in a sense, lost his daughter. And she's also unable to now ever have a child. She's basically broken. She's a shell of herself. Like, yeah, dude, I get it. I get it. I'm not saying I would do the same thing. I would definitely not do the same thing, but I get it. If you want to know what movie I would say the killer has the greatest motivation is Watch Me When I Kill. Watch Me When I Kill has a pretty interesting reveal when you find out who the killer is, why they're killing. It's like, keep doing what you're doing. Actually, if I recall, if I'm not mistaken, it's definitely like, nah, you're justified. You're justified. Let them all die. Let them all die. I was gonna say let them all rot. Let them all die. But yeah, that's what I'll say for What Have You Done to Solange. I do really like it. I would consider it probably a quintessential giallo. The title alone is regarded as one of the greatest titles in the giallo film. I didn't make that up. That's just something I read, and I'm like, yeah, I know. It really is. Yeah, great. Music is good by Ennio Morricone, although at times it does sound recycled from the Cat o' Nine Tails. I will say that. There is a few times where I'm like, this just sounds like Cat o' Nine Tails right now. Cat o' Nine Tails or Four Flies. I think it's Cat. But, you know, when you make 500 movie scores, there's going to be some similarities. A little bit of Bird with Crystal Plumage, too. Yeah, so I have this from Arrow. This is actually a pretty cool pack. It comes with the Blu-ray and the DVD. And like I said, you can watch this in English. You don't have to be like, oh no, I will watch them all in Italian. Which if you do, that's fine. But for me, if the movie takes place in England, it doesn't make sense to watch people in London speaking Italian. That's just how I do it. But in every other movie, if it's in Europe, I'll try to watch it in Italian. I felt like I dodged a bullet there. I was kind of like not in the mood when I was rewatching it. I was like, God, I don't really want to watch this in Italian right now. And then really quickly they said they were in England. And I was like, great. I went back like to the beginning, which was like 7 minutes. I just started it over in English. I had seen this before, I think like a year or two ago. But yeah, I don't know what to say. I do really like this movie. The cinematography is really great. The lighting is really great. The sound and the music is all great. The acting, all great. Editing, it's just a good movie. I could see some people saying it's a little slow, but come on, like these movies can kind of be a little bit. So I don't know of any criticisms that I could really say against the movie, like why it's not up there. It's up there. Is it in my top 10? Probably not. Maybe top 25. But anyways, yeah, I will wrap this one up. I always kind of go over what I would like to talk about, but I gotta quickly do a turnover here and record another video for this movie. Anyways, yeah, so thank you for watching. If you got this far, you're a true one. Let me know your thoughts on the movie down below. Anything else you want to say, questions, thoughts, curiosities, or concerns, let me know. Your predictions for the movie's AZ score. How many out of the A to Z cliches will it get? How many out of 26? What will the final Jolly Tally score be? Let me know. I will let you know what I think. Let's go with... There's a lot of nudity. There's a fair amount of flashbacks. There's a fair amount of kills. There's a fair amount of red herrings. I'll go... I might be overdoing it, but I'm going to guess 750 to 800 points. Anyways, yes, thank you. This is Tanner Leeser for the King and Jalo, and if nothing else, anything else, Tanner? I'll see you next time.
They're all my students. They sure stick together, don't they?
You're telling me, even in bed, at least among themselves, the little dicks.